Welcome to Whatif tutorials. In this tutorial we will be looking at creating do and charge templates. These templates are used where you have a quote and each of the cost components, that is material, labour, subcontract and other costs, appear as items on the quote and have a quantity and a price and a value. We'll be looking at creating the template header, then we'll be looking at cost drivers, and then we'll be looking at adding template lines. Shut this, go to templates, quote templates, create quote templates. Here is a typical quote template with material, labour and subcontract items in it. Let's now create another one. This is the template header. It defaults to the job quote defaults factory. You'll notice you can fill in customer, market and so on. This is if you have a template that is going to be directed to a particular customer or a particular market or so on, or even a particular discount group, salesperson or state. That means you can select the appropriate template given what you want. If none of these are filled in, of course, then the implication is that the template can be used or is appropriate for any customer, market type and so on. We'll leave those blank at the moment. Next we see the job quotes defaults coming in for printing totals, almost always yes. Prices including GST, yes or no as required. Your job quote type, your quote remarks footer, and it's active, yes. None of the costs are in, so we haven't put any on yet, so we click OK. Next, we need to consider cost drivers. Now, cost drivers are the variables which drive the quantity required of each of your cost components, materials, labour, subcontract and other. Now, in some cases, of course, the cost driver is inappropriate. In that case, we use our default job, which has a quantity of 1, which means when you multiply your usage per driver quantity and the driver quantity is 1, that means in effect you are estimating the total quantity required, irrespective of any drivers. However, we might want to add in, for this particular template, we might want to add in from some of our standard drivers a particular driver, say chair legs. Now we need to add in the quantity that's going to drive costs associated with chair legs. Next we want to add in, say, windows. And finally we might want to add in doors. So these are simply the variables associated with this particular quote template, and which these will drive the usage of materials, labour and subcontract costs. So we'll close this now. Next we want to start adding some lines to our template, which will become, of course, lines in the quote when the template is used. So first of all, we'll pick materials, and when this is the item master file, we will pick an item here, and you'll notice the default is to the job driver. Okay, so we could pick another driver, but we'll leave it to the job driver at the moment. So that's a driver quantity of 1. We'll put in the usage quantity of 2. And we have a cell quantity of 2 given the unit conversion of 1. So now we OK that. We've now brought in the quantity, and the system brings in the item master cell value and the item master costs. So you have the opportunity here to change the cell value and the discount. You can't change the costs because these are the standard costs, given that this is a standard template. They can be changed when you come to the actual quote. Okay, so that brings us to our specifications. This side, of course, is for the quote. This side is for the standard specifications. There aren't any here, so we won't bother with that. Okay, so we've now created a material line. Let's create a labour line. Click labour. Now what we have here is the default work centre, and we need to create an operation. Now the operation can be a standard operation or a non-standard operation. If you've created a standard operation or more than one standard operation for this work centre, you can see them here and select one. So we'll select this one here. Its code COP1, its driver is chair legs, and we already created the driver for this template for chair legs, and it's manning of 2, and the hours are 0.4 elapsed hours per chair leg, and the efficiency is 100%. We'll use that. And when we do that, it completes the entire form using the defaults. We have, first of all, the mannings come in, the driver quantity, of course, for chair legs, which we entered earlier, and the standard elapsed time per driver unit. The repeat operations you can change here if you wish. If this standard operation has to be repeated a number of times, you can do that. We'll leave it at 1. So we have standard elapsed hours of 1.6. The efficiency you can also change, but it's come in at 100% from the standard. And we get estimated man hours of 3.2. It now brings in the standard work centre labour rate code and its charge rate, its cost rate of 91, and it's brought in the overhead cost rate associated with it, 97. So that calculates our labour cost and our overhead cost, and total cost of 604. So that is our cost side of it. On the charge side of it, that is the quoted value for this, we have a quoted description. You might want to change that. Oops. It's brought in the default charge code for that work centre. That happens to be $800 per man hour. It shows up here as $1,600 per elapsed hour. The reason for that being that you have a manning of 2, and we are going to be charging in terms of quoted elapsed hours on the quote, not man hours. So if you want to run with man hours on the quote, then you simply change that manning to 1 and everything else falls into place. So we have quoted hours here 1.6 and quoted charge rate of 1600. They are the standards, if you like, because that 1.6 has come from our cost estimate. You can change this to appear on the quote so that you are in fact going to be getting a greater sales value than the standard, and that will increase your gross profit percentage. So we'll leave it at that. We might as well make a bit of extra money. So okay, great. It's just warning here that the quoted hours are greater than the estimated hours. That's 2 is greater than 1.6, so that's okay. And we can put in a long description here for this particular labour operation. And we can put in instructions. And we can put the option here to print the long description or not. Okay, so we now have created material labour, and finally I'd like to just show you the subcontract. Click on subcontract. The first thing you must enter is the supplier. You can add a supplier here if you haven't got it in the list. Next thing, you have to select the subcontract class that you are doing, because in those classes you have the markup, the suggested markup. So we'll go for cement. So that brings in cement contracts with a markup of 14%. Once again, there are standard operations, or if there are standard operations, you can, for subcontracts, you can select them there as we did with labour. But let's not do that. We'll just put that in there. Supplier. Now the cost per buy unit, that's what we're buying it from the supplier at. The cost might be $500. And the usage conversion from buy to usage is usually the same unit of measure, so that's 1. And the driver code here, we might say the driver code is determined by the job, because there's nothing else there here. So we'll just There is no driver code, we're just estimating the quantity for this, and we might have 30 there, which gives us 15,000 total cost. Now that 15,000 of cost has been upped to 17,000 of value by this 14% quote markup. We can change the markup, say to 20%, and that will increase the margin. Or we can change the gross price, and that will increase the margin. So once again, we've got the quoted value versus the cost, and we can see what the margin is. Click OK, and once again we can put in some long description to appear after this on the quote. And so on. So we, whoops, I didn't want to print that, but we can. So, okay. So we've now created our 3 components. The other cost component is the same basically as a subcontract. It has its markup percentage and its classes and so on. Other costs are things that are not materials from your item master file, but nonetheless maybe purchases of materials that are in total value in dollars. There's no quantity involved, it's just a total cost. So that then is that. Say OK. No, I'll just cancel that one. I was creating a new one. Alright, so that concludes this tutorial.